Getting into the second part of what we're doing, here we want to see, as we look at this one term, remember terms are separated by either a positive or negative sign. So this is considered one term, this is considered one term. But in this term, is there a common factor? And we see our common factor here is a binomial. So there is a protocol that we'll follow for this, and I want to write this out for you as you take some notes. We're going to take our value here and put that in a parenthesis, 3x squared minus 2, and then this is multiplied by each of those, so we put that here, 5x plus 1. So if we have this arrangement where we have a common binomial, we factor it then by doing this. Now keep in mind, a few lessons back, we said if we had something like this, we would take this first term and multiply it by this, which is what we have here. Then we would take this second term and multiply it by this, which is what we have there. Okay? So this is treating a little bit of what we did already, but just backing it up a little. Now, they have a tendency of putting the factor first and then the other part. That's okay too. Alright, now, when we do letter B here, and again, there doesn't seem to be any number over here, so we physically put in a 1. Now, using what they're going to do, they're going to use this factor first, 2x minus 3, which is the common factor, and then what's left is 7a plus 1. Now, I would have written it 7a plus 1 times this, but that's okay too. Here they're showing the 1, and then what they get. Okay, now this is a case in which it looks a little different than what we've just had, but we're going to do what we call factor a polynomial by grouping. Here there are no common factors in all 4 terms, but there is a common factor in the first 2 and the last 2. So let's see what we can do. Here there's a common factor of x, and we get y plus 5. And as we look at this, there's a common factor of 3, and then we get y plus 5. Now we are where we were just a few moments ago. So how would you do that? Well, I would have done x plus 3, y plus 5, but I'm assuming our book is going to put this first and then this. But either way works, and MATLAB will accept that. So they're saying divide this into 2 parts, and then out of this you factor an x, out of this you factor a 3. And then again, they're putting the binomial, that's the common factor, first, then this. It doesn't make any difference. Okay, let's try this one. So I can see I can take an x out of these first 2 terms, and I get x minus y. Now I'm looking for an x minus y out of these last 2 terms. But notice the signs seem to be messed up a little bit. think about, what do I have to take out of these two terms to get this? Well, here's a case where if we take out a negative 5, and again, distribute it gets this, but our signs now are the same. We have our common factor. So let's write it the way they're going to do. X minus y in the first parentheses. And then we pick up on the x minus 5 there. X minus y and an x minus 5. Okay. So far, not too bad. Oh, I didn't clear that. There we go. And here they're saying, if you left it this way with the signs, it wouldn't go. But if you take out a negative 5, then it works. And they're showing that. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this one here. And again, you're trying this to see if it works here. So here, out of our first two terms, we can take an x again, and we get x plus a. Now, out of these next two terms, we can take out a 3, and we get an x plus y. Now, as we look at this, are there common factors? No. So, this is not factorable by grouping and is not factorable. Now, you could do what I've done here, but you can't go any further than this. All right, so we want to have a little bit of everything here. And there, as far as you can go. So we say it is not factorable. Now here, when you look at this, notice you can take out a common x here. And you get a y plus 5. Now here, there is a y plus 5, and if you recall in the earlier section, we said you could always take out a plus 1 from anything. So that's what you had to do. So again, you get the y plus 5, and then you get the x plus 1. All right, so something a little different. And they're showing that you can take a 1 out of each thing. All right, now this one is the one that's a little challenging. So I would write this on your paper. And notice you can't take anything out of these first two terms. But we are allowed to rearrange things. So let's see what I have here. If I take this term and this term and rearrange it. So I'm going to say 5xy minus 10ux. And then I'm going to write these two here. But I'm going to put it a little different order. I'm going to say a negative 3vy plus 6uv. Now, out of this, I can take out a 5x. And I'm left with y minus 2u. Now, over here, I want to end up with a y minus 2u. But notice that my signs are messed up. So what do I take out of this so that I end up with this? And if you said a negative 3V, then you hit pay dirt. So, sometimes when you see something like this, and you say, I can't do anything with it, if you rearrange it, which you are allowed to do, and then take out your common factors, and here have to flip the signs around, you're going to end up with y minus 2u and your 5x minus 3v. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, let's see what the book does. It takes you on a long voyage here. And they're saying it doesn't work this way. So we can arrange things differently. And they're just taking through this scenario. Now, notice here, the factor that we're taking out is finally the same. And then there's your answer. Okay, so we have some practice problems again, but we spent a lot of time on this section. So you'll be doing your own practice, and these are the answers.